An alumna of Lucknow University, Dr. Vohra is the Gurgaon-based Senior Education Specialist, India of Opportunity International, an NGO which provides small business loans, savings, insurance, education, and training to 14 million people in the developing world. An educationist with over 23 years experience, which includes in top universities, Amity University, in schools, the Millennium School, Goenka Public School, Global Classroom, GEMS Education. Dr. Vohra is currently focused on upgrading education quality in private budget schools across India. Amrita will be speaking on progress and differentiated instruction in early childhood.
A very warm good afternoon. I have been told to keep an eye on that ticker, which apparently hasn't started ticking yet. Though we've just had lunch a while ago, and no matter how good all of us, the expert speakers here may be, I know all of us are going to be very sleepy. So you've been listening and being very quiet and sweet for a while, so maybe time to get up. Can we? Everyone? Yeah, wake up. Wake up is the real idea behind the get up. So thank you so much for getting up. Feels better? A little? Yeah. So I can't really compete with Jahan. He did a wonderful job to energize us this morning, but I'm just going to take 1 minute and maybe you'll be a little more energized. So can we imagine ourselves to be a waiter? There were many of them outside just serving us. Yeah? Can we all imagine for a minute? Okay? And I am a happy waiter today. I've just been given an amazing news. I'm being promoted. I've got a salary hike. I'm happy. So I am playing with the plates, like this. Can we do that? Can we just start? Both hands, please. We got 2 plates. Everyone? If you're juggling the plates, you got to move the body as well. Yeah, little? Yeah? Okay. Can we just, yeah, imagine them. Don't drop. How many dropped? All. Oh. Boom, perhaps the salary increment's gone with that. Let's sit down. Thank you. I believe I do have a little woken up audience now, and I'll try to keep to the minimum time possible. The topic that I'm, in fact, 2 merged into 1, to be covered in 10 minutes or less today, are assessment, which is, to me, it is integral to learning. We can't have any learning unless we are all the time assessing what am I teaching? Is it really happening, not happening? I think I'm teaching, but I don't know what that child there understood. Particularly in early years, it becomes all the more important to have differentiated instruction and to reach out to each one out there. I hear very often from teachers. I've been into professional development for quite a few years now, and every time I'm interacting, particularly with early childhood teachers, they say, oh, we have too much on our plate. They do. Well, what they tell me is that, we can't do this. There's so many toddlers all around, and I'm alone in the classroom. Even when there are 2 of them, it's difficult. So with some energy in there, I would just like to begin by quoting some lines, from one of my completely favorite poems. Perhaps you would like to close your eyes, if that suits you better, or you may like to just see the slides and the words are there. You may like to read for yourself. So suit yourself whichever way it suits you. I'm just going to quote from Loris Malaguzzi. The child is made of 100. The child has 100 languages, 100 hands, 100 thoughts, 100 ways of thinking, of playing, of speaking, 100, always 100 ways of listening, of marveling, of loving, 100 joys for singing and understanding, 100 worlds to discover, 100 worlds to invent, 100 worlds to dream. The child has 100 languages and 100 more. But they, us, the teachers, steal 99. The school and the culture separate the head from the body. They tell the child to think without hands, to do without head, to listen and not to speak, to understand without joy, to love and to marvel only at Easter and Christmas. They tell the child to discover the world already there, and of the 100, they steal 99. They tell the child that work and play, reality and fantasy, science and imagination. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the clicker. That way? Not working. Science and imagination, sky and earth, reason and dream are things that do not belong together. And thus, they tell the child that the 100 is not there. The child says, no way, the 100 is there. Oh, it's working now. Thank you. What does it make you think? What do you think I'm trying to say? I'm sorry, I'm one person who will just want you to contribute to this discussion. That's a poem I'm sure many of us sitting here may have already read, and not just read, probably chewed and digested and lived every day when we meet and greet every single day and live with those children, those amazing nimble hands and those faces, those peering eyes that look at us with so much in them. So what really are we doing about the 100 languages? Yes, it is difficult. I'm going to show you an image now. What do we see there? A happy child. Why do you think the child is very happy? This little toddler is very happy. Amazed, the body language shows it, okay? Eyes are glowing, all right? Do you think there's a sense of accomplishment there? Yes. What could it be about? They're standing. The child has just learned to stand. Thank you, Jehan, for saying that. So just imagine the amazement. Before this kid will reach us for the first time in a preschool, they would have already mastered what Maria Montessori has propagated. I'm only just picking it up from there to talk here. They've already mastered two of the toughest skills that they will ever master. The kid has already mastered language. They can express themselves in the mother tongue. When we later try to teach another language, we make such a mess of it. You'll put this before that, and then you'll do this, and then you'll do that. Oh, God. And then it becomes... We all saw how we tried learning the second language. We obviously need to change that, and many of us are doing, I'm sure. The child has already mastered how to walk. How did this kid do that? There was a structured curriculum around it. Did we teach it consciously? The toughest skills, they last for a lifetime. We didn't. The child tried and tried, fell over and again. Nobody praised, nobody appreciated, nobody punished if they failed. Nobody told them, oh, you know what, you're trying to walk, but this is how you're going wrong. They just learned. They tried and tried and tried. Nobody tried to give a star or a smiley or what you will. Unless we give all this, then, well, learning won't happen. Unless we point out the error, well, learning won't happen. But how did this learning happen? Oh, I wish this works quicker. Okay. Yeah? None of this really was required? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Do we agree? This is not me. This is just Maria Montessori, one of the most enabling researchers in education that I know. I totally believe in it and much more other than Montessori, but what she said, I think none of the further research has been really able to counter. If a child has to be rewarded or punished, it means he lacks the capacity to guide himself. And we, somewhere down the line, the minute they enter our schools, somewhere we tend to forget that. So we start telling them, do this, don't do this. Parents tend to forget that, and so on and so forth. But we do need to point out errors. But well, are we perfect? Am I perfect? No. So we make mistakes. So will the child. Each time we make a mistake, that's a very good thing. I'm so happy. I remember from the morning, this morning we heard the address on critical thinking, and she said that one of the most key things that their children learn through those critical thinking programs or computational thinking is that it's okay to make mistakes. So we end up coming to a stage where we have to make children learn this. We created this scenario where we have to again make them learn this, but unfortunately or fortunately, they're born with this learning actually. They never wonder if they made a mistake. So let's think about these things. Each time we praise or each time we are trying to find a fault, we are actually curbing that spontaneity in some way, and it does not help. We're trying to curb those 100 languages. It does not help. What we need and what does help is to build in this whole structure of a control of error in the very environment. Now, a teacher, we all just heard, and I completely, my thoughts so much echo Mira's. For whatever you said in your address just now, I mean, I live through every day in schools because I am these days working with the low-budget private schools in the various nooks and corners of India. And the divide is huge. There are people like Leena who are doing a fantastic job, and so many others. But the larger chunk of people, the larger chunk of schools in our country, what children are really getting is those schools. And teachers are not trained. Teachers are not supported. They need to be. Unfortunately, even for teachers, what we need is a lot of differentiated instruction, but it doesn't happen. So we need to build in this control of error system everywhere in the school, for the teacher, for the child, for all of us. How do we do that? Okay. We need to get rid of these. We think these work. Unfortunately, they don't. First thing is to get rid of these. Let's stop telling the child you're smart, you're talented, you're gifted. Those are qualities that one cannot control. What the child can control is that we can put in the effort, we can try harder. And that is what needs to be told. That is what needs to be given the emphasis. So we do need to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, talking about these things. I'll just try to be faster on this. At the same time, we do need to remember that specific feedback, Hattie's research tells us that specific feedback is really, really key to progress, to change in learning outcomes. So feedback, if at all is there, needs to be specific. How do we make it specific? So that A+ does not make it specific. The other things don't make it specific. What makes it specific will be something like, I see a lot of effort in this. How about adding a few more birds to the painting? What do you think? The idea is to develop thinking, to help children think, go beyond what they've already achieved. How does a video game work? We all play the video games. Many of us, I'm sure, are addicted. How many of you are addicted to some video games here? Nobody is here? Some hands go up, reluctantly. Okay. Well, so a video game, how does it work? Why do we get addicted? Any clues there? So you want to keep winning the levels? Okay. There is a curiosity for the next level. Okay. It does not give you a fixed grade. Thank you. And? It releases dopamine. How does it do it? Yes. There's instant gratification. It quickly shows you, and what kind of, does it really give you a reward? It doesn't. It just tells you, now you achieved this much, now, okay, try harder. Go to the next level. So wherever, it does say those things, but those are not really the things that increase that dopamine. What does is the fact that, okay, you did this much, now move to the next level. So therefore, that came out as one of the first things from all of you. Move to the next level. So it just gauges where are you at, assesses you. It just does some assessment for learning, and then gives you just the little extra, that challenge that you need, and keeps fostering that growth mindset. And that's how we get hooked, addicted. That's what we probably need to do to education in the classrooms. Now, how do we do it in early childhood classrooms, where we have so many toddlers, the teacher has to understand each one's level, then we have all the other challenges, the parents, the community, the curriculum, the syllabus, which is like a rat race. You got to finish it, you got to finish it. So, oh God. So there is so much. We need to be planned, structured, as well as unplanned and unstructured all at once. Now that's a miracle to happen, but we are gurus. This culture today may not be respecting teachers, but we belong to that same country where we are gurus. An entity that's supposed to be over and above the Almighty. So we can make miracles happen, pretty much. And this is actually just something that comes naturally to us. We just don't have to curb the child. So how do we do it? Now, alone, yes, we can't. But in a classroom, in an early years, not just the classroom, but the entire school environment, everything can be a teacher. Everything can become my support material as a teacher. So what are my fellow facilitators in my early childhood classroom? One is the learning environment. Everything in the environment really talks about learning, supports learning. The didactic material itself helps the child learn. There is control of error built in. Technology today does come in handy, and many of us are already using it. Children, while they are playing, that's the best time. They are learning a lot. And what do I need to do around all of this? They are learning on their own. All I need to do is do some bit of a dramatic presentation, and then get them on board, get them to try out new things while I research. I do a lot of my own research while they take ownership of their learning and move on with this process. So I'm not going to the details of it, I cannot in the 10 minutes, but essentially what I'm trying to say is, using all the tools at hand that we have, we need to let them teach us what to teach them and how to teach them. That's when we are able to reach out to each one at their level, and differentiated instruction can happen in an early childhood classroom, in fact, more effectively than in any other, because the material can become a teacher way more effectively than when concepts become more complex as they grow. One thing that I'd like to quickly end with is that amidst all of this, the one person who needs to make it all happen is the teacher. And yes, we have all those 4 kinds of teachers. We need to make DI possible for the teacher. We're not able to do it for all kinds of reasons, and very often we have training sessions and they don't work. Therefore, we propagate joint practice development. We have to allow the teacher to make her mistakes. We have to provide that environment where the teacher feels comfortable trying out new things in the classroom. There is training, but I'm always so uncomfortable in the classroom. What's the parent going to say? What's my principal going to say, etc. So they need to work as a team, a professional learning team in the school, and work jointly for lessons, work jointly to support and mentor each other. And then, of course, you can have external, internal, all kinds of mentoring. A lot of continuous professional development actually happens in the classroom. With that, I'll just say a thank you, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. I'm just leaving you with one last question. So where does the sky start? Thank you.